Hi everyone, I hope you're doing well. Today it's time for a reading journal update. We'll first set up pages and discuss some books I've been reading recently, and at the end we'll create a cover spread for the third quarter and talk about my upcoming reading plans. As always, I love to hear what you guys have been reading recently, and if you have any recommendations, please leave them in the comments below. But now let's jump to the first book series that I read in the past few months, which is the Mistborn series. We already set up a spread for this in the previous reading journal video, and this time I finally finished reading the second and third books in this series. If you want to see how I set up everything here much slower, I'll link the previous video in the description. So this time we'll just add a few new pictures and write some notes on these two empty Dutch door pages in the middle. I don't even know where to start talking about this series. It was incredible. I completely understand the hype for this series, and I think it's one that definitely deserves it, and this made it into my all-time favorites. There is very little that I can say, especially about these last two books without spoiling anything, but very generally, this is a fantasy series. The vibes remind me of Six of Crows meets Dune. This starts as a heist story in this dark and corrupt world, and there is a very interesting magic system that feels simple and unique at the same time. For my romance lovers, there is some romance in this series and many deeper subjects as well. That just makes this an incredible read overall. The plot twists and just the insane creativity of the world and the story blew me away, especially in the last book. And what I absolutely love about this series is that pretty much every question you can think of in the beginning is answered by the third book. There's this sense of mystery about the state of the world and certain characters that really get me interested. And of course, there are so many lovable characters, but for me, I think the selling point of this series is definitely uncovering the mystery. So thank you so much for all of you who have been recommending this series to me. If you're a fan of any kind of fantasy, I definitely recommend this series. One thing I'll say is that this took me a very long time to read. I think it just physically has a lot of words because I usually read books with the same number of pages much faster, but for some reason, this one took me forever. I guess the overall writing style is very descriptive, so it's a lot about the world and the characters' inner thoughts and not so much dialogue, which just makes this a very wordy book overall. But this is not a negative point by any means. It was just something I noticed while reading. I absolutely want to read more from Brandon Sanderson moving forward, so if you have any favorites, I'd love to hear about them in the comments. I could go on and on about this series, but we have to keep going. So I felt completely empty inside after finishing the Mistborn. The ending took absolutely everything out of me. So I was in a mood for something quick, fun and easy, a true palate cleanser, if you will. So I decided to pick up the first book in the Girl Meets Duke series, which is one that I found after Googling something like Pride and Prejudice, but spicy. And I think I couldn't have found a more perfect book for exactly what I was looking for. I'd describe the Duchess Deal as a historical rom-com. It starts right away, it's so fun and entertaining, the banter is excellent, and the spicy scenes don't feel overpowering or added for no reason. And I don't know, I just had a blast reading this book. Sure, it's not the most unique story out there. I think the plot is definitely quite light and even silly at times, but I didn't really mind because it's not the main point of this book. On this book spread, I wanted to use some products from Henriette Arts that she has so kindly gifted to me. So the washi tape at the sides and the flower and fan stickers are all from her shop. I think they suited this romantic vintage style perfectly. I feel like I unlocked a new genre that I really enjoy with this book, and I think I'll save the rest of the series as good in between quick fun reads whenever I feel like I need it. I'll be honest, I did enjoy this book more than quite a few romantasy books I've read in the recent years, because even though the writing is nothing special, it still felt well edited and at least to some extent true to the times. It's nothing like Pride and Prejudice though, so definitely more for modern readers in mind. So if you need a fun, very romance-heavy pick-me-up that starts right away, I highly recommend checking out this series. Then the last book I read this time is The Frozen River, which I've been meaning to read since the start of this year, but it only came to Kindle a few months ago, so even though it's very seasonally inappropriate for me, I really wanted to pick it up. This is a very interesting mixture of being a murder mystery and historical fiction based on true events and following Martha Ballard, who was a midwife in the 18th century United States. It's a very unique story, nothing like I've ever read before, and I totally understand the high praise and rating this book has received in such a short amount of time. This is one of those books that made me cry a few times, mainly out of frustration towards the situation in the book. This focuses quite significantly on the inequalities that women had to endure during this time, so it was very infuriating to read at times. My only complaint is that I could guess the end result, so I wish the murder mystery itself had been a little bit more complicated, but even then I think this was a great read, one that will surely stay with me for a long time. I highly recommend this to anyone who doesn't mind slightly heavier subjects, but I do encourage you to read the trigger warnings for this beforehand. I feel like I've had very good luck with books this year. Pretty much everything I've read has been either good or really good. So after finishing The Frozen River, I was ready to take a risk. My curiosity got the best of me, and I'm currently reading Quicksilver, which I've heard everyone talking about this year. It seems to be a new book talk favorite romantasy, and my expectations for this are honestly not very high. I've heard very mixed things about this book. It has a super high rating on Goodreads, but I've also seen quite a few people absolutely hating it. Anyway, I wanted to know what the fuss is about. I'm only about 20% in at the moment, so I can't really say much about it yet, but I will say that there has been surprisingly a lot of story so far, and I'm even enjoying it to some extent. So I guess I'll update you guys on this one in the next video. But now, as you can see, we have started to set up a cover spread for the third quarter. I found some really pretty summery pictures, so I wanted these to be in a main role, and then I added a few of my own shop's summer collection items to fill in the space at the end. I usually like to print these quarterly titles at the same time I print the pictures, because it makes it a little bit easier and faster to set up these pages when I don't need to write the titles every time. It always takes a while for me to find a nice layout for the pages, and I've also tried to keep things a little bit more minimal this year. Even though I love and treasure all my reading journals, there are definitely some pages in the past that ended up a little bit too cluttered with decorations. So taking this minimal approach has really helped to keep things from getting too messy. I sometimes get questions about how I come up with these layouts, and I think the most important thing is to limit the decoration items you want to use to only a certain few per page. But after adding a few of these lemon and other stickers all over the spread and attaching the pictures on top, it's time to start writing out my third quarter reading ideas list. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm currently reading Quicksilver, and we'll see if I end up finishing or DNFing this one, but so far so good. And next I want to pick up Book Lovers by Emily Henry, which is among the most recommended contemporary romances to me. I asked for your recommendations in this genre last time, and thank you so much for coming up with so many great candidates. I listed all of them up, and I'll definitely read at least a few of them later. But after this, I wrote The Golem and the Genie, which is a duology that has been on my reading list for years at this point, and I think I'll make an effort to actually pick it up this quarter. I've heard great things about this, and a duology feels like a perfect length for me at the moment, so I'm excited to finally get to this one. We'll see if I have time for more books than this, but just in case, next I added The Word is Murder, which is the first book in this loosely Sherlock Holmes style murder mystery series that I recently found. So if I'm in the mood for a quick mystery, this is probably where I'll turn to. And then we have a few fantasy or romance standalones like The Unmaking of June Farrow, Blood Over Bright Haven, which I already bought actually, so I'll definitely pick it up by the end of this year. And last I listed The Night Circus, which I honestly don't know much about, but I had listed it under my romance category. So here we have it. I'm very excited about this list, as always pretty much. I really hope you enjoyed watching this video and maybe found some new ideas or inspirations for your own reading journals or reading in general. And if this was your first time around here and you'd like to stay tuned for more art and journaling, definitely consider subscribing. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a lovely day or night wherever you are, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye bye!